Hi everybody, these are the solutions now for exercise 2E, question 1J, 2F, J and D. These are the problems that people raised in class today. So 1 part J, there's your quadratic equation. You want to solve it. First thing you do is, can you divide through by a common numerical factor? The answer is no. So the next plan is to try and factorize the non-zero side using the product and sum method. So our product here would be 2 multiplied by positive 1, and the sum here would be the coefficient of x, which is positive 4. So can we get two numbers that multiply to get positive 2 and add to get positive 4? The answer is no. So it's not possible. So we use the quadratic formula. That's what it asks us to do in exercise 2E, to use the quadratic formula. So identify A, B and C. A is the coefficient of x squared, which is 2. B is the coefficient of x, which is 4, or positive 4. C is the number term. So C is just positive 1. So quadratic formula, x equals, and then minus, and then B is 4, plus or minus the square root of B squared, minus 4, times A times C, and that's all over 2A. So that's 2 times 2. So if we tidy up, we've got minus 4 plus or minus, and then we've got the square root of. So we've got 4 squared is going to give us 16. Minus 4 times 2 is minus 8. Times 1 is still minus 8. So 16 subtract 8 is just going to give us 8. And that's all over 4. 2 2s are 4. Now, we've got a surd root 8. We can simplify it. Always try to simplify surds. Largest square number that goes into 8 is 4. So that's 4 multiplied by 2. And then break it up using surds rules. That's root 4 times root 2. So that's going to be 2 root 2. So if we tidy that up, we're going to get minus 4 plus or minus 2 root 2 all over 4. Now, the book may leave it as a single fraction, but I always advise you to break up the numerator into 2 separate fractions here. So we're going to divide each term in the numerator by 4. So that's the same as minus 4 over 4 plus or minus 2 root 2 over 4. So again, the 4's here are going to cancel, and you're just going to be left with negative 1, and then plus or minus, and then this 2 and this 4 cancel. 2 goes into both. So you're going to be left with root 2 over 2. So you can either write it as minus 1 plus or minus root 2 over 2, or minus 1 plus or minus a half root 2. Obviously dividing by 2 is the same as multiplying by a half. Now, let's check the book. Yeah, the book doesn't appear to have the same answer. So here's what the book has. The book appears to have minus 2 plus root 2 all over 2, or minus 2 minus root 2 over 2. So here's the issue with the book. The book has kept their answers as just a single fraction, but see if you break it up into 2 separate fractions, you're going to get minus 2 over 2 plus root 2 over 2, or minus 2 over 2 minus root 2 over 2. And what you'll see here, these 2's cancel, so you're left with minus 1 plus root 2 over 2, or these 2's cancel and you're left with minus 1 minus root 2 over 2. So what you'll see is that even though the answer in the book looks totally different, when you break it up into 2 separate fractions, you actually get the same answer as what we had, minus 1 plus or minus root 2 over 2. So minus 1 plus root 2 over 2, or minus 1 minus root 2 over 2. So if you get these answers here like I had, and then you're looking at the book and saying, I've got it wrong, you've actually got it right. The book is just giving it in a different form. Okay, so that's maybe where the issue was with 1J. We've maybe got this, but we think we're wrong, but we're actually right. Okay, next one was 2 part f. This could maybe be a similar issue. So 2 part f, we want to solve the following quadratic equation. Now the issue here is that the terms on the non-zero side aren't ordered, so we want to put the highest power of x first. So just reorder it, 3x squared, then put plus 4x, put the x term in the middle, and then your number term at the end. So again, we're solving a quadratic equation. Can we divide through by a common numerical factor? The answer is no. So the next plan is, can we factorize the non-zero side using product and sum? So our product is going to be -6, and our sum is going to be +4. And the problem here is we can't get two numbers that are going to work, so it's not possible. So we're going to use the quadratic formula. So again, identify a, b and c. A is the coefficient of x squared, that's 3. B is the coefficient of x, that's 4. And c is the number term, that's -2. So next plan is to write out the formula and sub a, b and c in. So x equals minus and then b, which is 4, plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c, and that's all over 2a. And then again, we're going to try and tidy this up here. So we've got -4 in the top, plus or minus, then we've got our square root. So we've got 4 squared is 16, -4 multiplied by 3 is going to be -12. -12 multiplied by -2 is going to be +24. So we've got 4 4s are 16, and then we're adding on 24, so that's going to give us 40. And then that's all over 2 multiplied by 3 is 6. Again, take a look at the surd. It's not fully simplified. Largest square number to go in that is 4. So we can write that as the square root of 4 times 10. Break it up using surd rules. That's root 4 multiplied by root 10. So that's going to be 2 root 10. So then we have -4 plus or minus 2 root 10 all over 6. And then, because again there's two terms in the numerator, divide each of them separately by 6. So we're going to get -4 over 6 plus or minus 2 root 10 over 6. And again, cancel the 4 and the 6. 2 goes into both. And again, 2 and the 6 cancel. 2 goes into both once and 3 times. So if we tidy that up, so what we're going to have is x is equal to -2/3 plus or minus root 10 over 3. So you could write it like that, or you could write it as -2/3 plus or minus 1/3 root 10. You could also write it like that. So again, if we inspect the book, this is 2 part f. Yeah, so the book gives -2 plus root 10 over 3. Or -2 minus root 10 over 3. So again, those answers that the book gave may look totally different to those, but they're not. If I divide each term in the numerator by 3, we're going to get the same answer. So if I break it up, that's going to be -2 over 3 plus root 10 over 3, or -2 over 3 minus root 10 over 3. So you can see now that the solutions that the book actually has are the same as what we have here. Minus 2 over 3 plus or minus root 10 over 3. Minus 2 over 3 plus root 10 over 3, or minus 2 over 3 minus root 10 over 3. So the book is right, but again their solutions are just in a slightly different form. They've kept their answers as a single fraction as opposed to breaking it up into two separate ones. Okay, so that was 2F. So then next one was 2J. So again, you have to reorder this here. Get the x squared term first on the non-zero side. So minus 3x squared. Then we've got minus 4x. Then we've got positive 3, and that's equal to 0. So you've got a quadratic equation. First step is, can you divide through by a highest common numerical factor? The answer is no. So again, you try to factorize the non-zero side using product and sum. So our product is coefficient of x squared times number term, that's minus 9. And the sum is the coefficient of the middle x term, that's minus 4. So we can't get two numbers that multiply to give minus 9 and add to give minus 4. So it's not possible. Use quadratic formula. So again, A is coefficient of x squared, B is coefficient of x, and C is number term. And then we write out the quadratic formula. X equals minus B, and B is negative 4. Goes in brackets, we're subbing in a negative number. Plus or minus the square root of b squared. So again, we're putting b in brackets for two reasons. We're subbing in a negative, we're subbing in a number that now has a power. So it's b squared minus 4, that's part of the formula. Then a is negative 3, again goes in brackets, it's negative, and what we're subbing in has a coefficient. And then subbing in c, c is 3, it goes in brackets because what we're subbing in has a coefficient. And then that's all over 2a, so that's 2, and then again minus 3 goes in brackets for two reasons. We're subbing in a negative, we're also subbing in a number that has a coefficient. Tidy it up, two minuses side by side give us a plus. And then under the square root we've got minus 4 squared is 16. Minus 4 multiplied by negative 3 is positive 12. And then 12 multiplied by 3 is going to be 36. So we have got 16 plus 36, which is going to give us 52. And then that's all over negative 6. And again, take a look, third isn't simplified. The largest square number to go into 52 is 4. So that's the same as the square root of 4 times 13. And then break it up into two separate roots using surge rules. That's root 4 times root 13. That's 2 root 13. So then go back. We now have 4 plus or minus 2 root 13 all over negative 6. And again, break up the numerator because we've got two terms into two separate fractions here. So divide both terms in the numerator by the denominator. So we've got 4 over negative 6 plus or minus 2 root 13 over negative 6. Sort out the sign. Positive divided by negative is negative. And then cancel the numbers. 2 goes into both twice and 3 times. Again, sort out the sign here. So you're dividing a positive by a negative, so that positive there you associate with the 2. Positive divided by negative is going to be negative. But then if you take the top number to be negative, a negative divided by a negative is a positive. So essentially what you're doing is you're dividing this plus or minus sign by a negative. Positive divided by negative is negative, and then you're doing negative divided by negative is positive. And then 2 and the 6 cancel, 2 goes into both, so divide both by 2, we get 1 and 3. So that's going to be root 13 over 3. Okay. And then you can leave it like that, or minus 2/3 plus or minus plus a third root 13. Those are your two solutions. minus 2/3 minus a third root 13, or minus 2/3 plus a third root 13. So again, if we have a look at the book, so in the book, yep, so here are the solutions the book has. Book has minus 2 plus root 13 over 3, or minus 2 minus root 13 over 3. So again, if we take the book's answers and we break it up into two separate solutions, so divide each term in the numerator by 3, we get minus 2/3 plus root 13 over 3, or minus 2/3 minus root 13 over 3. So again, if you compare these two solutions with what we have, so we've got minus 2/3 minus a third root 13, or minus 2/3 minus root 13 over 3, so that's that solution. And then we've got minus 2/3 plus root 13 over 3, that's that solution. So again, even though the answers look slightly different in the book, if we have got these answers here or those answers there, they are actually the same as the book. So that is 2J. Okay, last one is 2D. So again, we want to solve. So there's your quadratic equation. I want to reorder it to put the x squared term first. And again, can we divide through by a common numerical factor? No. So again, now we try to factorize the non-zero side using product and sum. So product negative 2 times positive 5 is negative 10. And the sum here is positive 4. And we're trying to get two numbers that multiply to give negative 10 and add to give positive 4. Problem is, again, we can't find two numbers. So not possible, use quadratic formula. So identify A, B and C. A is the coefficient of x squared, B is the coefficient of x, and C is the number term. So again, chuck them into our quadratic formula. So x equals minus, and then we're subbing in 4 for B, plus or minus square root of B squared minus 4 times A times C, and that's all over 2A. And then tidy up. So again, under the square root here, what have we got? We've got 4 squared is 16. Minus 4 multiplied by minus 2 is positive 8. 8 5s are 40. So we've got 16 plus 40 is going to give us 56. And then that's all over 2 multiplied by negative 2 is going to be negative 4. So root 56, again, we've got a surd. Can we simplify the surd? So you ask yourself, what is the largest square number that you can think of that goes into 56? Well, 4 actually goes into 56. 4 goes into 5 once, and 1 over 4 goes into 16 4 times. So we can rewrite it as the square root of 4 multiplied by, so 4 goes into 5 once, and 1 over 4 goes into 16 4 times. So we're talking about 4 times 14. Use surge rules to break it up into two separate roots. So that's root 4 times root 14. That's going to be 2 root 14. And the surd is simplified because the largest square number to go into 14 is just 1. So again, go back and tidy up. So that's going to be minus 4 plus or minus 2 root 14. And that's all over negative 4. And again, with two terms in the numerator, break it up into two separate fractions by dividing each term in the numerator by negative 4. So we've got negative 4 over negative 4 plus or minus 2 root 14 over negative 4. Negative divided by negative is positive. 4 divided by 4 is just 1. And then again, I would take each of these signs and divide them separately by a negative. Positive divided by a negative is a negative. Negative divided by a negative is a positive. and then the 2 and the 4 cancel. 2 goes into itself once, goes into 4 twice. So we've got root 14 over 2. So you can leave it like that, or dividing by 2 is the same as multiplying by a half. You can write it as 1 minus or plus a half root 14. So either of those two would be acceptable. So you have two separate answers. There's one set of two separate answers, or alternatively there's your other set of two separate answers. So again, if we check the book for 2 part D, yeah, so book has minus 2 plus root 14 over 2, or minus 2 minus root 14 over 2. So again, if we divide each term in the numerator by 2, we get minus 2 over 2 plus root 14 over 2, or minus 2 over 2 minus root 14 over 2. And again, if you cancel the 2's here, so we've got minus 1 divided by 1, that's going to be minus 1, plus root 14 over 2, or again the 2's cancel here, and we're going to end up with minus 1 minus root 14 over 2. Okay. So you can actually see here in the last example that there is a slight mistake in the book, in that the book seems to have a minus 1, where really it should be just 1 plus or minus root 14 over 2. So really there is a mistake there in the book. It should be 1 plus or minus root 14 over 2. So there was an error in 2 part D, but all the other questions should be absolutely fine.